planning your wedding flowers this summer but have no idea how to work with a florist? Don't worry, we've got you covered. Today we are telling you our top 5 questions that you need to ask a florist and why you should ask these questions. So these are perfect questions to ask when you are going to meet with a florist or have a consultation on the phone with, just to help get some more background information from them. And we're going to tell you why you want to ask these questions. We're going to kind of tell you some of the answers you should expect in a question. What's your background? Trying to figure out a florist's background is really important because you want to see, even if they didn't have experience in flowers, that they've had experience with art, with color, with creativity or design. So you want to make sure they've got some of the skills necessary to make your bouquets and your arbor pieces beautiful. I also really love the stories because even I, as a florist, I want to hear about you and I want to know how you and your partner met, because it's those pieces and stories and memories that really help define your flowers. Have you worked at this venue before? This is a really important question, and no, not every florist is going to have worked at your wedding venue before, and that's perfectly fine. There's 2 things you're looking for. So 1, if they've worked at that venue before that you're getting married at, you want to see if they have any suggestions or ideas in which your flowers could bring out the best of the area. And the other one is that you're looking to see if there's any bad experiences at a particular venue. And it's kind of a funny thing to think about, but as a florist, you're often there setting up flowers and you go through all the paces. If you're having problems with the wedding planners, if you're having problems with the coordination or the timing, it's something that you'd want to share with a bride. Like for one example, we do have one venue that's got a very tight time schedule for setup. So knowing this going into it is that you are likely to spend more money getting your setup for your reception done, just because there's not that 24-hour period or 12-hour period. It's literally a 3-hour period. So just being able to have that conversation early on with someone in the field is really helpful. Do you have a team or are you working alone? Again, every florist is going to have a different answer, but I think part of it is figuring out how their business is run and how to connect with the people that are actually making your flowers. I know in my case, I do everything, but I really love the bridal bouquet, so I'm always okay having some help getting everything else set up and coordinated. But the bridal bouquets are my baby. And we have Megan, she helps do the email, so it's a really great pairing. And some people, you just want to know that your flowers are going to be treated special and important on your day. So being able to connect with the actual designer might be better for you than to talk to someone that's just doing the bookwork. And everyone has a different role, usually at a florist shop where there's a few more people. And also it's for if you have a large wedding, you want to make sure that there's enough time available to have everything done. Because it is your wedding, it is special, it is precious, and you want to make sure it is done to the best of their ability. What is the payment and contract process? So this is a good question to kind of roll in to see how the money side is fixed. Everyone's going to have a different answer, and that's perfectly fine. But you do want to hear about how they accept payment, that they do have a contract. That is one of those important pieces, just to make sure that you're with a quality florist or floral designer. And generally, people are going to ask for 50%, quite a few months in advance, and then the rest has to be paid up before the wedding, which is totally normal and expected. But part of that is just making sure that you're budgeting your money so that you have it for when you need it. And I guess part of the reason that's a great question too is because sometimes things are going to change during your wedding planning. You might end up having more tables or less tables, and you want to know if there's some wiggle room in that process. It's always good to make conversation by asking how many weddings they'll be doing in a year and on the particular weekend. And part of that's just to give you a sense of how many weddings they've been doing over a time period to make sure that they are capable of making your beautiful flowers. And if they're capable of doing something a little bit different or working with different types of flowers and color palettes. The other one is making sure how many they're doing on a weekend. You're gonna get a different answer based on like the size of your wedding, the particular weekend, and you know, knowing that there's only one person versus a team might change your mind who you go with, especially if you're having a really large wedding but this florist already has 5 weddings and they don't have any helpers. It might make you just double think before you agree or disagree. And part of the process is just getting to know them and how their business is structured. My favorite question is passion. How did you get involved with flowers? Why? Just hearing people's love of flowers and color or texture and design really helps you find that person that you connect with for your florist. And right? Flower nerds stick together. So many florists I know love flowers, and it's not just the basic ones, it's all the weird ones. And that makes us so happy when we come together as friends and just nerd out on flowers. So you do want to look for someone that's got a passion about flowers. If you find they're more not in love with flowers, they may be experiencing burnout, or they're not passionate about their job. But this is your special day. This is important. You want to find someone who's passionate about flowers because they will work the hardest to make your wedding flowers the most beautiful. It's true. Is everything packed in water? This seems like a really funny question to ask, but until this moment you did not think about the logistics of your flowers, and that's perfectly fine. So if you're getting married in the heat of the summer and you're thinking about getting your flowers picked up the day before, you really want to make sure everything's in water to keep it fresh, and you want to make sure you have a place to keep them where it's cool. Not necessarily a refrigerator, just a cool area. And you also need to think about how to get your flowers from point A to point B. If you're paying your florist to do setup for you, then it's not anything you need to worry about, but it's just a great piece of conversation that you now are able to ask that you wouldn't have thought of before. What kind of flowers can I expect in my bouquets and arrangements? This is a great way to kind of summarize everything you guys have been working on. I'm very visual, so I love working with some inspiration photos because I can see that there's roses in every picture, so it's really easy for me to say, yes, roses, let's do it. And part of this is the flexibility with your florist. So if usually we see kind of like your top focal flowers like dahlias and peonies, and we say yes to those, and the color of greenery that you're using, we say yes to that, and then just kind of allowing some room for the little pieces to come together on their own. Because that's the magic about growing your flowers, that you really don't have to have all the answers until the week of the wedding when the nigella blooming and they look spectacular, or the lisianthus are perfect. So just allowing a little bit of flexibility to bring all the puzzle pieces together will give you the freshest, most beautiful bouquet. If this quote is over your budget, how can you work with it a little bit? If you find originally that your quote is way over your budget, it might be good to cut your losses and look for a different florist. But for the most part, just having a conversation with your florist will help you decide what's important for your wedding and decide what flowers you want. Part of the planning process for flowers can be really stressful, especially when you didn't realize that flowers might actually cost a lot of money, especially for your vision. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just having the conversation to find ways in which you can save money is totally normal. Don't forget to hit like and click subscribe for videos each Tuesday showcasing color, creativity, and flowers here at Humble Burdock Farms in the Annapolis Valley of Nova Scotia. You can find us on YouTube at Humble Burdock Flowers, or on our Instagram weddings page at Humble Burdock Weddings. So the best question to ask last is, what happens next? How do I book my weekend? What happens after the consultation? It's really good to ask these questions. If you're not sure this florist is for you, don't even bother asking about booking your weekend. But just asking if they're going to revise the quote for you and maybe share some pictures or some ideas, just to give you a sense of the summary of what you guys talked about. So from us, you can expect a revised quote, and generally I'll put my notes in there. Very famous for my page of scribbles and designs, but every florist is different. So that is our top 5 questions you should ask your florist during a consultation. If there's any questions we missed, pop them in the comments below so we can add them to a future video. My name's Amanda, and thanks so much for watching.